Sometimes an album comes along that kind of hits you in a very particular way, challenges the way you've been thinking. It sits in the basest levels of your brain at all times, lurks and it festers. But it also gives you hope in a way that you haven't associated with music in quite a while. This split LP between two powerful, talented solo artists is one of the most shockingly refreshing and sobering records I've heard this year. If you're ready for a kind of trendy, shoegazy black metal that would make Death Heaven look cult in comparison, then come with me as we get down with Sadness and Abrication's latest collaboration. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, my name is Ian, this is Rhyme Signatures, and we are once again opening the lid on the best new releases in prog rock and metal. Okay, so real talk. I've been trying to figure out how to do a review of this album for a while now. I've had it for a little bit. I picked it up on Bandcamp when it got recommended to me via something. I don't remember what it was. And I've been figuring out in my brain how I want to talk about this one. So I'll let you on a little secret. Obviously, 9 times out of 10, if I'm doing a video, I've got a script for it. I write it, I agonize over it, I rewrite it, I think to myself, that sounds terrible, let's try that bit again. I improv and ad-lib over the script as I'm reading it. But today, outside of that little intro bit, I'm going off-piste here. Look, see, here is my little setup. Oh, look, we can go, ooh, you can see multiple versions of me like that. Yeah, my little thingy, my little teleprompter sits there, just behind the camera, positioned in such a way so that it doesn't look like I'm looking off into the middle distance. It actually looks like I'm, looking at you guys, But I felt that that would not do for this particular album. I really felt there was a degree of honesty owed to you on this release. So I'm doing something a bit different this time around. So let's just get my little splash screens done and out the way with. This is a review of the new album by Sadness and Abrication that lasts forever. And I'm going to do a little bit of talking about the music and how it sounds and all that sort of jazz, all the sort of stuff you come to expect. But I want to be a bit more upfront with you all about this, and I'll get into why. So without any further ado, let's do some discussion. Okay, so yeah, as I say, I've been really trying to figure out how the best way of approaching this video is going to be, and the only way I felt I could, adequately do a review of this album was to talk a little bit about me, how this music has affected me, and what has brought me to this point. Why am I the way I am, and how is it that this album has affected me in the way that it has done? So, the thing with doing these videos, right, is that you, as a person, know who you are. You know who you are, but anybody watching this, the several hundred of you that tend to watch these videos on a fairly regular basis, you only know about me what I display on this screen, what I talk about, and the associations that I have with the music that I discuss and how it impacts me on an emotional level. But you don't really know me. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine, because I'm not often displaying me. You get to see the shaved head, you get to see the beard, you get to see the ducks and the board games and the records in the background, but you don't know what lies over to that direction, you don't know what lies over to that direction, or up there, or even down there. So I'm going to be pulling back the curtain just a little bit on this record and telling you a little bit about me, because you're going to need the context to understand how this album has impacted on me. So let's give you a brief discourse. My name is Ian. I am 39 years old. I've lived in my hometown of Preston since returning from university since 2007. So I've been here for about 18 years now. And for a great majority of that time, I would say I have been struggling with serious mental health issues. Now, this is obviously going to become quite an emotional video for me to record, so you'll just have to bear with me a little bit here, so there might be cuts and pauses here and there as I go on. I've been to therapy multiple times. I am on the precipice of going back to therapy again for the 3rd time, I think it is now, if I'm counting. Multiple things have been tried. Nothing's really worked. There is talk of medication being discussed, which is terrifying, but also gratifying in some ways as well. I don't really think this is the place for me to go into deep detail as to why I have been struggling with my mental health issues, but what I will say is how this music, and music in general, has been a way for me to cope. It has been a mechanism for me to be able to move past any issues that I have been having. So obviously in the past, as I have been struggling with these difficulties with my brain, with these difficulties with my mental health, I would often retreat into music. It was a way to escape the mundanity of real life. It was a way to escape from the struggles I was facing. You know, the records don't judge you. They don't talk shit about you behind your back. They don't feel that you're not good enough. They don't, you know, they don't judge you. It's music at the end of the day. It exists in a vacuum. It exists it exists in and of itself. You know, that recording on that disc is never going to change, but how that recording impacts on you as a person can dramatically change. The sort of album that you used to listen to when you were a teenager hits you differently today than it did when you were 13 years old. And the music that I've been listening to a lot of lately, I've been doing so in order to deal with my problems, in order to figure out how this sits within me. And this album, by the collaboration between Sadness and Abriction, that lasts forever, was the wake-up call I didn't realize I needed. So obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about the music on here, because otherwise, what's the point of doing this as a review? Like I say, slightly different format here we're going for, a bit more personal, but I feel like just laying my cards on the table. So this is a kind of like aggressive shoegaze. There's certain elements of black metal to be found on here with some screamed vocals, and certainly in the latter half of the album. But for the most part, this has got that kind of dream pop feel to it. You know, we're looking at things like Astronoid, we're looking at things like Alcest, we're looking at things like Godspeed You Black Emperor, Explosion of the Sky Mogwai, you know, all that kind of good post-rock stuff. There is a certain sense of real personal drama to this music. Everything, like every single track on here feels very much of a heartfelt variety. And I believe it's that degree of heartfeltedness which has honestly just reached through my speakers and connected with me on a very deep level. These past few weeks especially have been very challenging for me. I've been going through a lot of difficulties and been facing a lot of personal problems and challenges. Obviously, I try to keep that away from the content creation that I do, because I don't feel much like oversharing, at least not often. I mean, I am oversharing today, which is fine. This is what the whole point of this video is, to give you a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. Like I say, a bit of a stream of consciousness here. I haven't planned this video apart from that little opening blurb, so we're just going, yeah, we're just figuring this out as we go along. And it's been this music, these sounds, which have really just connected to me. I can remember the first time I was listening to this record with a good pair of headphones on. It felt like I was standing in a space that I didn't understand. You know, I felt isolated by this music. It felt like it was putting me on a pedestal. There was a spotlight on me, and it made me nervous at first. It made me nervous. It channeled a kind of vulnerability that I wasn't comfortable with. But the more I came back to this album, and the more I pushed past the exposed nerves that this music was giving me, there were moments on this album, especially in the tracks by Sadness. We have 4 tracks by Sadness and 2 by Abrication for those keeping track. It was the Sadness tracks especially that really stuck with me, and eventually it felt like there was a break in the cloud cover. You know, there was the sunlight pouring through, and I found myself like honestly, openly crying my eyes out to this music. You know, and we're not talking like, oh, there's a single tear rolling down my cheek sort of thing. No, I mean, I was full on sobbing, you know, like completely just lost in the moment, completely lost in the emotive reaction I was having to this album. And the more I've come back to this record, the more I have come to accept the fact that this is the album which is connecting with me on a mental and spiritual level more so than anything else that's come out this year. Now, I can't guarantee that this record will have the same impact for everybody, because we're all different. We all appreciate and do things differently up here, obviously. And music will impact on all of us in different ways, and that's absolutely fine. I am merely expressing how this album has affected me. Now, like I say, my mental health difficulties have been challenging these past few weeks. They really have been very, very challenging, to the point where I have had to seek professional help, obviously. Again, it feels like it's the story of my life. I get professional help for a few months, everything's fine, and then about a year later it all tumbles down again like dominoes, you know. But at this point in my life, it does feel like it is the worst that it has been. Now, I'm doing better. I am doing a lot better. I have been fortunate enough to be referred for some more serious help. The term, what was it they called it? It was psychodynamic therapy. Now, that apparently is the next step for me, so that's going to be very interesting to see how I react to that. But at the end of the day, music has been the connective tissue that grounds me. It has always been what grounded me. Even when I was little, you know, I was like at school and I was being bullied by the bigger kids, whatever, you know, I would hide in music, you know. It was my escape route. It was the way that I could get away from the drudgery of life, from the reality of my problems. I could escape it for like 40 minutes or anything or whatever. And it feels like, obviously, the older that I've gotten, I've still crutched on that ability to escape reality, to escape the difficulties that my mind faces. And this record by Sadness and Abriction has been the latest thing that I have used as a comfort blanket. It has offered me a sense of safety and security. It has given me a way to get away from myself. For over an hour, I can listen to this album across its 6 tracks, and I can be in another place. It takes me to another world. It takes me to another sense of feeling, another sense of belonging. It's weird how it kind of makes me feel like I'm time traveling, you know, because sometimes you listen to something or you watch something and you love it so much and it connects with you so well that you just feel the reality just disappear, and that hour-long wait or that 2-hour-long journey or whatever, it's just nothing. It's gone. It's like that, you know. And Sadness and Abrication have done exactly that with this record. They have helped me to move through some very difficult mental periods with this record. Now, I don't want to, like, spend half an hour whiffling about my problems or everything like that, you know, obviously, because this is quite a difficult subject for me to be open and honest about with you all. But obviously, there's been quite a few things that I've been dealing with lately. I mean, there's my own personal problems that I've been dealing with, obviously, the PTSD that I dealt with from last December, where I came off my bike and could have ended up with serious brain damage or even worse. Always wear your helmet, kids. There's been a few things recently from a family perspective, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but obviously, just to touch base, my sister-in-law has been in the hospital for a number of months now. My father's prostate cancer came back. My mother was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. You know, there's been a lot of things just all piling up on top of each other, like that, like a huge, bloody great big mound of shit, for lack of a better description. And I kind of felt myself buckling under the pressure of it all, you know? It felt like there was a real sense of how much more can you pile on top of me before I fall over and collapse? But it's where albums like this music by Sadness and Abrication have come in to help with that, because it's enabled me to take a vacation from my mind. You know, I can lose myself in these massive, massive soundscapes that this music brings, the haunting beauty of these ethereal vocals and the punishing screams as well. It reminds me that life is here. It's in the raw emotion that we feel as human beings. And through this unfiltered display of humanity, I get this sensation that this music was made for people like me. It was made for people going through what I'm going through right now. I feel targeted, I feel seen, and I feel that this is the kind of music that has come to me at precisely the right time in my life. And I want to shine a spotlight on it now, because I feel that maybe somebody out there right now needs this as well. Maybe some of you out there are going through similar stuff like I am. And maybe, just maybe, this is the balm you need. This is the panacea. This is the cure. Now, I'm not going to advocate for the fact that, this healed me and now I'm all fixed and better, yada, 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 because I need a lot more than just a 60-minute post-rock shoegaze album. I do. But this is a good start. This is a good way of sort of trying to forget the world and trying to forget the difficulties that I'm going through right now. And yeah. Yeah. So what else can I possibly say about Sadness and Abrication's collaborative LP that lasts forever? Yeah, this is a bit of a weird video for me to have done. Like, as I say, I had no real game plan going into this other than to just talk a little bit about how my life has been lately, how this album has impacted on it, and I appreciate I've not spoken a great deal about the music, and this has mostly been a video talking about me, and some of you may appreciate that, some of you may have come here for a more in-depth analysis about the music, and that's fine. If that's what you came here for and that's what you didn't get, then I do apologize for having wasted your time. It's fine. But I had to make this video this way because I felt that to do otherwise about this record would have been disingenuous to how I feel about it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, music is about that. Music is a feeling. Music is about what it means to you on an individual and very personal level. And That Lasts Forever has been one of those albums that has absolutely sucker punched me. I can't give this a score. I can't tell you like, oh, this is a 10 out of 10 or this is a 5 out of 10. I can't even recommend whether or not you buy this digitally or physically or whatever. That's not the point of this album. The point of this album is to explain how it has affected my mental health, how it has positively enriched my life. And I just want to put a sincere thank you to both Sadness and Abrication for creating this, and for how much I feel that this record will continue to have a positive impact on me as I go forward into my continuing struggles with my mental health. So there we have it. Something a little bit different today, guys. Like I say, it's going to be an interesting one editing this video, listening to my sort of like stream of consciousness drivel back forth as I sort of like snip and cut it and do all the various bits and pieces that I do with it. That's going to be interesting. But yeah, so there we have a little bit of a lifting of the curtain, a little bit more about me as a person, and more importantly, how powerful this album has been to me recently and how important it is. So there we go. If you do want to try this one out, give it a listen. Let me know how you think about it. Let me know how it made you feel. Maybe, like I say, maybe it's just the thing you need right now. It certainly was for me. So fingers crossed it will be for you as well. If you did like the video, guys, please do give me a little bit of a thumbs up. Please spread it around. Tell your friends about little old me. Maybe even consider subscribing to the channel if you've been enjoying this video. They're not all going to be like this. I've got some more regular stuff coming up soon, where it's just me being happy-go-lucky as I so often am. But I felt that this video was necessary in this capacity, in this format, for me to be able to just sort of carry on with things and just get on with my life. So, as always, guys, until next time, keep your rhyme signatures pretty odd.